Elon Musk shocks millionaire by offering job to black Mendigo en secret proyecto. No one saw it coming. Right there in the middle of Central City Park, under the blaze of a street lamp that flickered like a dying heartbeat, Jonathan Reed, tech billionaire and titan of innovación, knelt down and offered the job to a man everyone else ignored. Marcus, a homeless man whose ragged coat and tired eyes barely caught a glance. But tonight, everything changed with a single sharp yes. The crowd that had gathered whispered in disbelief. Someone snapped a photo. Phone zoomed. Did he just hire that guy? Are they partners? Is this some PR stunt? Even Jonathan's closest allies were stunned. Who is Marcus? No one really knew. The man was a ghost in this city. His hands trembled as Jonathan handed him the sleek silver card, a key to a room most could never enter. The card glinted like a promise. "Come with me," Jonathan said, voice low but fierce. Around them, life pulsed. Laughter from late-night diners, sirens slicing the night, the buzz of neon signs. The world kept spinning, but in this tiny patch of cracked pavement, a silent storm brewed. Jonathan's eyes were sharp, restless, his mind racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. This wasn't just charity. It wasn't a gimmick. It was a calculated move, but one packed with questions. Could Marcus be trusted? Could one man's story change a multi-million-dollar project designed to revolutionize urban transport? Or would this blow up everything he'd worked for? Whispers grew louder. "Crazy," one muttered. "Reckless," spat another. Among the polished suits inside Jonathan's company, doubt festered like a poison. Some envied the move, calling it bold. Others called it madness, saying Jonathan was risking it all, possibly throwing the project into chaos. Marcus stared at the gleaming card. Memories hit heavy. Spent nights shivering in alleys, days spent begging, the sharp sting of neglect grinding deep into his soul. His reflection in a broken shop window flickered back a stranger. Was this really him, about to step into a world that had always felt off limits? Just then, Jonathan's phone buzzed. A chilling message from his biggest rival. Ambushes. Leaks. Sabotage. The stakes just got higher. But worse? Marcus found a photo in a discarded file folder. One revealing a link neither of them expected. A connection entwined in their pasts, pulling them tight into a knot of fear and truth neither was ready to face. Silence fell. The park's noise dimmed, as if the city was holding its breath. Could two men from worlds so far apart find common ground? Or would the sharp knives of judgment and corporate games tear them apart just as something fragile began to grow? The night was wide open. The question hung heavy in the air. What are they willing to sacrifice for a fairer world? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The night was wide open. A question hung heavy in the air. What are they willing to sacrifice for a fairer world? Suddenly, the piercing wail of a siren shattered the silence. Jonathan and Marcus turned towards the sound. A police car skidded to a halt just beyond the park, its lights flashing red and blue, cutting through the shadows like a knife. The air thickened. Jonathan's heart raced. "What now?" he whispered. Before he could process it, several officers leaped from the vehicle, their faces taut with urgency. The crowd shifted, muttering and pulling out their phones to record. But amid the commotion, a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman, her long hair disheveled, her eyes wild with panic. "Marcus!" she cried, voice cracking with desperation. She pushed her way through the sea of confused onlookers, her movements frantic. Jonathan squinted, recognition flickering in his mind. Who was she? Marcus stepped back, confusion washing over his face. Jenna? He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Panic deepened in Marcus's eyes. "What are you doing here?" A tidal wave of emotions flooded the scene. Jenna's face was ashen, her breath coming in quick bursts. It's happening again! You need to come with me! They're after you! I couldn't let them!" Her words tumbled out, frantic and urgent. "What? Who's after him?" Jonathan demanded, stepping protectively in front of Marcus. He felt the collective gaze of the crowd pressing down, hungry for drama. Murmurs crackled through the night like static. "What's going on?" Jenna turned to Jonathan, desperation in her eyes. "You don't know what you're dealing with." Marcus, he's not just any homeless man. He was part of that underground project, the one they shut down. The one they're still hunting for. The night suddenly felt colder, darker. Jonathan's mind raced. The project? What project? He thought of his dreams of revolutionizing transport. The ambition that burned within him flickered. "What are you talking about?" But deep down, something was coiling in his stomach, a sinking realization that this was not what he had signed up for. "They know he's alive," Jenna replied, taking a step closer. "They thought he was dead. After everything that happened, we thought it was all over." Tears glistened in her eyes. "But they're coming for him. They won't stop!" Marcus's hand shook, the sleek silver card slipping through his fingers onto the pavement, its promise lost in the chaos. "I didn't want to go back. I thought it was all over." His voice cracked. The sirens seemed to echo the growing dread. "What are you hiding from?" Jonathan's tone sharpened, his mind racing to connect the dots. "Who are they?" Before Jenna could answer, another officer barked orders, breaking through the air with a harsh command. The weight of disbelief settled like a fog. The crowd's gasps grew louder, suffocating, as eyes darted between Jonathan, Marcus, and the panic engulfing the park. Then chaos erupted. Jenna lunged for Marcus, grabbing his arm. "We have to go now." And before anyone could react, a group of 3 men, clad in dark suits and sunglasses, emerged from the shadows. They were fast, moving like predators. The scene warped into a blur. Jonathan felt the icy grip of fear, a jarring jolt, knowing everything he thought he knew was about to change. The men shouted commands. The crowd roared with confusion. In that moment, something inside Jonathan snapped. He grabbed Marcus's arm, pulling him away from Jenna's grasp. "You're staying with me!" he shouted, though he had no idea what he was truly stepping into. Jenna's voice pierced through the crowd, begging, "Don't trust him, Marcus! He doesn't know!" But as Jonathan pulled Marcus deeper into the alleys of Central City, the revelation hit him. The weight of a hidden past. Threads connecting their lives in ways he couldn't begin to comprehend. With each step he took, uncertainty loomed. Who was Marcus really? And as the city lights flickered, illuminating the shifting shadows, the question echoed in Jonathan's mind. Were they allies, or just pawns in a game much larger than either of them could handle? The night was wide open. The question hung heavy in the air. What are they willing to sacrifice for a fairer world? Suddenly, a jarring crash sliced through the murmurs. A figure burst into the park, panting and wild-eyed. It was a woman, breathless and frantic. "Jonathan, you have to listen!" She darted forward, grasping the sleeve of Jonathan's coat, desperation blazing in her eyes. "What?" He pulled back, startled, his focus shifting from Marcus to this stranger who seemed to be leaking fear like a tap gone rogue. "It's about the project. They're planning to—" Her words were cut off by a loud, crackling explosion in the distance. A shimmer of orange lit up the sky, a belch of smoke rising like a ghost among the buildings. The crowd gasped, a wave of shock washing over them. Phones snapped toward the source of the chaos, leaving Marcus and Jonathan frozen. "Are people hurt?" Marcus's voice, trembling but urgent, broke through the haze of confusion. "They're coming for you, Jonathan," the woman insisted, taking a shaky step back, scanning the faces around her. "They want to take it all down. Your project. You can't trust them. They're in on it." Jonathan's sharp gaze identified the creeping panic etched on the faces of his companions. Who's coming?" But before she could answer, another blast echoed, closer this time. Screams erupted. A figure staggered from the shadows, a man in a tailored suit, blood dripping down his forehead. He stumbled toward them, eyes wide and terrified. It was a setup. Before he could finish, sirens wailed in the distance, but something darker lingered in the air, thick and suffocating. "Get back!" Jonathan shouted, a new fire fanning his fear. He moved to pull Marcus out of the way, but in that instant, the ground trembled. A tremor, an aftershock? Cracks spidered through the pavement as people scrambled. The world around them was imploding. "Everyone get to safety!" Jonathan shouted, ushering them away. But then he turned back to Marcus, eyes wide. "You have to go now." "Why are they after me?" Marcus's voice shook, gnashing against the escalating panic. Deep down he felt it, a connection, a tightening bond, yet now it felt like shackles. "They see you as a threat," the woman shouted, urgency pulling her bloodshot eyes. "They know about the—" But she was cut off as the suited man collapsed. The crowd gasped again. A ripple of horror rolled through them as silence stung like ice. The fear was palpable. People were moving up, edging closer, waiting for someone to speak. In a flash, Jonathan leaned down, whispering intensely to Marcus. "You must trust me. We need to know what's really going on. Get the card. Meet me at the old rail yard." Alone. Marcus felt the weight of the silver card, its cold metal burning against his palm. "But trust me," Jonathan's eyes spoke of urgency, compassion, something deeper. Then, suddenly, the streetlights flickered, dimming to nothing, plunging them into darkness. Shouts erupted in confusion. A figure loomed behind Jonathan, shrouded in shadow, their breath caught in an evil smirk. "You think it's that easy? You're all pawns, just like her." Panic shot through the crowd. Jonathan turned, confusion morphing into dread. "Who are you?" he demanded. But it was too late. A shrill scream pierced the night. The mystery of it all tightened around them. Jonathan and Marcus exchanged a glance. The world tilted. Could the very thing that promised change be the catalyst of their downfall? And who could be trusted when shadows danced around their destinies? The night held its breath, waiting for the next move. The world tilted. Jonathan felt it in his bones, a ripple through the crowd that stretched across the park like a tightening noose. He looked at Marcus, eyes wide but clouded. The fear pulsed thick and heavy like smoke filling the night air. "Who are you?" Jonathan demanded again, his voice sharp with uncertainty. The shadowy figure stepped closer, a grin creeping across their face, dark and foreboding. "You really don't know what you're messing with." Just then, another explosion rang out, louder this time. A gasp rising from the crowd like a tidal wave. A strange light exploded from the building across the street, illuminating the panic-stricken faces. It lit up the night with a flash of orange, transforming the figures around them into distorted shapes. Against the chaos, Jonathan felt a hand grip his shoulder hard. He turned, ready to shove whoever it was away, but stopped cold. It was the woman, her wide eyes sparkling with something other than fear. "You need to listen. This was meant to happen. You have to stop." He wanted to shout, but he could barely find his voice. The night blurred around him, too loud, too fast. Then everything changed. With a swift motion, the figure behind Jonathan pushed aside the woman, snapping his fingers. In a heartbeat, 2 armed guards emerged from the shadows, surrounding the chaos. "You've been a thorn in our side for too long, Jonathan," the figure sneered. "What did you do?" Jonathan breathed. "The project. It's never what you thought it was. You're just a puppet playing a role." The crowd shrank back, whispers vibrating through the air. "He's bluffing," someone said. "Right?" The mutters of disbelief trailed away, anxiety washing over them. Jonathan's heart sank. He turned to Marcus, whose face had fallen pale. "What do you know?" Jonathan pressed, desperation threading his voice. "What is he talking about?" "I didn't want this to happen." Marcus's voice cracked, and he took a step back. "They erased my memory. I didn't understand the danger until now. They wanted to silence me." A swell of confusion twisted in Jonathan's stomach. "You knew? You were part of it?" "They thought I was dead, Jonathan. The project wasn't about transportation. It was—" Marcus paused, his eyes darting with panic. "It was about control." A low murmur swept through the crowd, the air thick with trepidation. Everything shifted again. The woman's voice came clear among the gasps. "They've been manipulating us all. The project's purpose was never about saving the city." Jonathan felt his chest tighten. "What?" Before she could answer, the shadowy figure waved, and 2 of the guards lunged toward Marcus. Chaos erupted, screams puncturing the air. Jonathan moved to protect Marcus, but it seemed futile. "No, stay back!" he shouted. But then, suddenly, time crashed to a halt. A blinding flash of light filled the park, swallowing everything into a white void. Jonathan felt weightless, suspended in that moment. Sounds muffled like he was underwater. As the light waned, Jonathan looked around, breath caught in his throat. The crowd had vanished. The park stood empty, eerie quiet replacing the noise he'd just been trapped in. And there, in the center, was Marcus, kneeling, looking up at Jonathan with wide, frightened eyes. "They're coming for you!" he whispered, the fear etched deep into his expression. "And it's all connected because of me." They stood in silence, the weight of unspoken questions hanging thick in the air. "What did you do?" Jonathan finally murmured, his heart racing. As the darkness slowly began to close in around them, the question loomed larger than ever. Was Marcus a victim, or had he actually been the architect of their downfall all along? The night held its breath, and so did Jonathan. Marcus stood there, the card warm in his trembling hands. A million thoughts rushed through his mind, but one question loomed larger than the rest. What did this even mean? Just then, a shout shattered the tense air. A woman's voice, sharp, wild. "Get away from him!" The crowd turned. A figure burst through, weaving past surprised onlookers. Dressed in a long coat that flapped like wings, she pushed straight to Jonathan, her face a mix of anger and desperation. "Who the hell do you think you are?" she demanded, eyes burning with fury. "This isn't some charity play." Jonathan straightened, his brows knotting in confusion. "Excuse me? That man, he doesn't belong in your world. You're toying with people. Stop, Jonathan tried to speak, but the protests of the crowd drowned him out. "No one asked for your help. He's not a project for your ego." Her face twisted, a storm of emotions swirling. "Do you even see him? Or is he just a pawn in your game?" Before Jonathan could respond, Marcus felt a sinking sense of dread. He turned to the woman, her words cutting through the noise around them. "Shut up! You don't have to defend him." Her voice cracked on the last word, and the raw edge shocked both Marcus and Jonathan into silence. But then, a low rumble echoed, shaking the ground. The crowd gasped as their attention snapped upward. The bright city lights flickered ominously. Then it happened. A loud crash, shattering glass behind them. An explosion, bright and fierce, erupted just across the park. Smoke twisted into the air, while sirens wailed sharply in the distance. Time slowed. The chaos of the city melted into focus. Jonathan's face went pale. He reached for Marcus, but a figure darted from the smoke, wearing a black mask, moving like a shadow. That's when Marcus felt the tightness in his chest, a mix of fear and adrenaline. "Get down!" shouted Jonathan, pulling Marcus close, as the crowd shrieked and scattered like leaves in the wind. The masked figure raised something shiny, a gun, glinting wickedly under the park lights. But then a voice rang out from somewhere in the crowd, an unmistakable voice. "No, don't shoot!" Marcus's breath caught. He turned slowly and found a man emerging, face pale but determined. Daniel, his brother. The sibling he thought was lost in a world that swallowed him whole. The two hadn't spoken in years. The secrets between them heavy. like chains forged in silence. "What are you doing here?" the woman yelled, still shouting at Jonathan, but focusing on Daniel now. "You shouldn't be here." Daniel's eyes widened as he took a hesitant step closer to Marcus. A moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken words, questions lingering like smoke. "Marcus, you need to leave! You don't understand." A gunshot rang out. Everything stopped. A sharp pain exploded in Daniel's shoulder, knocking him back. The crowd screamed, diving for cover. Blood blossomed on Daniel's shirt as he crumpled to the ground, shocked gasps filling the air. "Daniel!" Marcus screamed, falling to his knees beside his brother. Jonathan's world tilted. He just brought Marcus in, and now chaos consumed them all. What were the odds? What were the connections twisting tighter around them? As the shadows deepened and sirens echoed, one truth became clear. Everything was unraveling, and the night was far from over. In the dead silence that follows horror, one thought pierced through the fog. What had they all gotten into? And how would they ever get out? Marcus stared at the card, his heart pounding. For a moment, the world around him faded. The laughter, the sirens, the buzz of city life evaporated. It was just him and Jonathan, a billionaire in a tailored suit and a homeless man in rags, standing on the edge of fate. "We can do this together," Jonathan assured, his words fierce and warm, almost igniting hope within Marcus. But just then, from the shadows of the park, a figure emerged. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark hoodie that concealed most of their face. The figure moved swiftly, purposefully, eyes locked onto Marcus. "Stop right there!" The voice boomed across the quiet, slicing through the fragile moment. The crowd flinched, heads turning. Jonathan's demeanor shifted, eyes narrowing as the figure stepped closer. "Marcus, run!" Jonathan commanded, urgency cutting through the air. But Marcus froze. Everything felt surreal, like a scene from a movie where the hero got trapped in a nightmare. "Marcus," the figure said, the voice now familiar, dripping with betrayal. "You have no idea what you're stepping into." Recognition flickered in Marcus's tired eyes. "Ryan?" he whispered, disbelief and fear coiling tight in his stomach. Ryan, his brother, long lost and thought dead. The years of pain, neglect, and separation flooded back, hitting him like a tidal wave. "Why now? Why here?" Marcus's voice trembled, a mix of anger and longing. "I was looking for you, to stop this. You can't trust him!" Ryan pointed at Jonathan, his breath ragged. "You think he's doing this for you? He's using you." The crowd murmur turned from curious whispers to shocked gasps. Jonathan stepped closer, fists clenched. "That's enough. You have no idea." "No," Ryan interrupted, his eyes fierce. "The project, it's all a front. A trap. They're planning to use you, Marcus. They're going to turn this city into a prison for people like us." A shudder ran through Marcus. The card in his hands suddenly felt heavy, like a chain linking him to something dark. The world around him shifted. Laughter turned to whispers. Joy morphed into suspicion. "What do you mean a prison?" Jonathan demanded, his voice tense, but even he couldn't hide the flicker of unease in his eyes. Ryan took a step forward, desperation etched into his features. They want to monitor everything, to control the streets. Your project? It's not a revolution. It's a chain. Around them, the bystanders exchanged glances, uncertainty tightening the air. "Get out of here! Now!" Someone shouted from the back, the panic echoing like a bell, tolling danger. "Marcus, listen to me!" Ryan insisted, sensing the confusion, the fear rising in his brother. "You were always meant for more! You can't sacrifice your life for something that will trap you." With the crowd closing in, Jonathan's expression hardened, his vision locked on Ryan. "This doesn't concern you. You need to leave. Now." But Marcus stood rooted in place, torn between the past and the uncertain future. Is this true? Marcus's heart raced as his world twisted, each second stretching into an eternity. He glanced at the gleaming card, then back at Ryan, his brother's eyes filled with desperation and pain. "Are you really here to help? Or to break my trust?" In that moment, everything hung in the balance, and the sharp edges of reality cut deep, leaving questions that pulsed like a raw wound. The night felt electric, charged with unspoken truths, betrayals lurking just beyond reach. What would Marcus choose? What sacrifice would he make for freedom? The question loomed heavy, waiting for an answer that would change everything. The night hung heavy, a blanket of expectation suffocating the air. Jonathan leaned closer, tension radiating off him like heat from a fire. "We start tomorrow," he said, urgency crackling between them. Marcus blinked, still stunned, the gleaming card warm in his palm. The moment was electric, every breath felt monumental. But then a scream shattered the quiet. It sliced through the park, raw and desperate, rattling the atmosphere. Jonathan jerked his head toward the sound, pulse quickening. The sharp cries of terror turned into a chorus, a wave of sheer panic undulating through the crowd. Then it happened. A shadow darted past, the outline of a figure, cloaked, moving swift as lightning. A gunshot rang out, a single, terrible crack that felt like it could split the air in two. Gasps echoed. Mouths dropped in shock. Jonathan instinctively pushed Marcus behind him, blocking him as the crowd erupted into chaos. "Stay down!" he shouted. A chill swept over them. People scattered, but Jonathan held firm, heart hammering, eyes darting. Suddenly, a second shot pierced through the night, making the ground shake under footfalls of scattering bodies. In that moment of pandemonium, something tangible shifted. Marcus's eyes met Jonathan's, and he felt a sudden jolt. A connection, yes, but deeper, like an unspoken recognition. It was as if a veil had been pulled, revealing a raw truth neither dared to voice. But then, another loud crack, and Marcus froze. But glint caught his eye. A badge? No, a logo. A familiar logo. His mind raced, tumbling through dark memories. He'd seen it before, just not in a way he'd ever wanted. The repercussions of his past flooded back. "Get down!" screamed a voice. The commotion intensified, but Marcus wasn't listening. His heart raced in disbelief, suddenly understanding the gravity of the night. Memories flooded back, not just his, but Jonathan's too. They were intertwined, threads of fate woven tight. The figure wearing the badge rushed toward them, and Marcus's face paled Gavin, he breathed, recognizing the face behind the mask. This was no random attack. This was personal. Jonathan's brow furrowed, confusion and anger flickering across his sharp features. "Who is he?" "Oh!" he shouted over the uproar, turning to Marcus. But Marcus was already on the move, adrenaline propelling him forward, away from Jonathan. "I can't," he murmured. "I won't let him take this from me again." The crowd pulsed, bodies colliding, hearts racing, as two worlds collided. Jonathan lunged after him, shouting, desperation thick in his voice. "Wait!" But Marcus broke free, driven by a fire ignited in pain. "You don't understand," he yelled, a mixture of fear and resolve pouring from him. He needed to face this, face Gavin. Jonathan stopped, breath caught painfully in his throat. As Marcus dashed forward, he felt the sharp sting of betrayal rising in his chest. The night had shifted, and now, in the chaos, the air thickened with unforeseen danger. There were no boundaries, no safety. Just a world unraveling too quickly, mystery curling around every breath they took. "Marcus, don't!" Jonathan's voice cracked, but it was too late. The moment had fractured beyond recognition. In the midst of danger, relationships trembled, truths obscured like shadows in the light. And as Marcus confronted his past, the city held its breath. What would they sacrifice now? Would they emerge as allies, or had the chasm widened forever, leaving them on opposite shores of despair? With the taste of gunpowder in the air, the darkness seeped deeper, coiling around them, an impending storm ready to unleash its fury. The question lingered, whispering through the chaos. What happens next? The night hung heavy, a blanket of expectation suffocating the air. Jonathan leaned closer, tension radiating off him like heat from a fire. "We start tomorrow," he said, urgency crackling between them. Marcus blinked, still stunned, the gleaming card warm in his palm. The moment was electric. Every breath felt monumental. But then, a scream shattered the quiet. It sliced through the park, raw and desperate, rattling the atmosphere. Jonathan jerked his head toward the sound, pulse quickening. The sharp cries of terror turned into a chorus, a wave of sheer panic undulating through the crowd. Then it happened. A shadow darted past, the outline of a figure, cloaked, moving swift as lightning. A gunshot rang out, a single terrible crack that felt like it could spit the air in two. Gasps echoed, mouths dropped in shock. Jonathan instinctively pushed Marcus behind him, blocking him as the crowd erupted into chaos. "Stay down," he shouted. A chill swept over them. People scattered, but Jonathan held firm, heart hammering, eyes darting. Suddenly, a second shot pierced through the night, making the ground shake under footfalls of scattering bodies. In that moment of pandemonium, something tangible shifted. Marcus's eyes met Jonathan's, and he felt a sudden jolt. A connection, yes, but deeper, like an unspoken recognition. It was as if a veil had been pulled, revealing a raw truth neither dared to voice. But then, another loud crack, and Marcus froze. A glint caught his eye. A badge? No, a logo. A familiar logo. His mind raced. Tumbling through dark memories, he'd seen it before, just not in a way he'd ever wanted. The repercussions of his past flooded back. "Get down!" screamed a voice. The commotion intensified. But Marcus wasn't listening. His heart raced in disbelief, suddenly understanding the gravity of the night. Memories flooded back. Not just his, but Jonathan's too. They were intertwined, threads of fate woven tight. The figure wearing the badge rushed toward them, and Marcus's face paled. "Gavin," he breathed, recognizing the face behind the mask. This was no random attack. This was personal. Jonathan's brow furrowed, confusion and anger flickering across his sharp features. "Who is he?" he shouted over the uproar, turning to Marcus. But Marcus was already on the move, adrenaline propelling him forward, away from Jonathan. "I can't," he murmured. "I won't let him take this from me again." The crowd pulsed, bodies colliding, hearts racing as two worlds collided. Jonathan lunged after him, shouting, desperation thick in his voice. "Wait!" But Marcus broke free, driven by a fire ignited in pain. "You don't understand!" he yelled, a mixture of fear and resolve pouring from him. He needed to face this, face Gavin. Jonathan stopped, breath caught painfully in his throat. As Marcus dashed forward, he felt the sharp sting of betrayal rising in his chest. The night had shifted, and now, in the chaos, the air thickened with unforeseen danger. There were no boundaries, no safety. Just a world unraveling too quickly. Mystery curling around every breath they took. "Marcus, don't!" Jonathan's voice cracked, but it was too late. The moment had fractured beyond recognition. In the midst of danger, relationships trembled. Truths obscured like shadows in the light. And as Marcus confronted his past, the city held its breath. What would they sacrifice now? Would they emerge as allies, or had the chasm widened forever, leaving them on opposite shores of despair? With the taste of gunpowder in the air, the darkness seeped deeper, coiling around them, an impending storm ready to unleash its fury. The question lingered, whispering through the chaos. What happens next? Suddenly, an explosion rippled through the park, a searing light igniting the dark. A blast of air knocked Jonathan and Marcus off their feet, sending them tumbling across the cracked pavement. Shouts transformed into screams, bodies flung like rag dolls as chaos unfurled like an unfurling flag in a storm. As dust settled, Jonathan blinked against the debris, trying to focus. A whirlwind of confusion surrounded him. No clear sight in any direction. But amid the haze, he spotted Marcus, shaking on the ground, fear etched across his face. "Marcus!" Jonathan yelled, scrambling to him, heart racing. He reached out, but something caught his eye. A figure emerging from the... Well. The voice slithered into the air, oily and smooth. "You thought you could escape me?" Jonathan's heart sank. Who are you?" The figure stepped closer, and as the smoke cleared, recognition surged through Marcus. The figure held a finger to its lips, an all too familiar gesture. "Shh, brother. It's time to reveal the truth." "Brother?" Jonathan echoed, taken aback. The figure peeled back the hood, revealing a face Marcus had never expected to see again. His long-lost twin, Ryan. "I've been waiting for this," Ryan sneered, a wicked smile stretching across his lips. "And guess what? You've been the unwitting pawn in a game I've been orchestrating from the shadows. You're all part of my master plan." The crowd froze, breath suspended, a terrible, dawning realization creeping through the air. Marcus staggered to his feet, feeling the ground shift beneath him. "You're behind this? You faked your death? Why?" Ryan's eyes glinted with malice, every word dripping with betrayal. "Because I needed you alive, and with Jonathan. He didn't just want to revolutionize transport. He was my ticket to the bigger game. You were always the key." Oh, Jonathan's breath grew shallow as he stared at Marcus, a chasm of confusion and disbelief widening between them. Trust shattered like glass, pieces cutting deep. "Everything was a lie," Marcus whispered, the weight of betrayal heavy on his shoulders. I thought we were building something real." Ryan grinned, a twisted smile of triumph. "And now, the true game begins. Will you join me, or will you go down with the sinking ship?" Jonathan felt the air grow thick with tension, memories flooding back, everything he thought he knew, now twisted, shattered, exposed. And in that moment, the truth was clear. Alliances had shifted, and the battle for their lives was just beginning. Everything hung in the balance, leaving them standing at the edge, teetering into an uncertain void. What now? The night was alive with betrayal, and the question loomed, how far would they go to reclaim everything they had lost? The night was alive with betrayal, and the question loomed, how far would they go to reclaim everything they had lost? Marcus stared at Ryan, confusion and anger mixing into a storm of disbelief. "You've been pulling the strings all along?" His voice was barely a whisper, riddled with shock. Ryan chuckled darkly, a sound that filled the dark space with dread. "Of course! Did you really think you were just some bystander? I needed you here, where I could keep an eye on you, where I could use you." Jonathan clenched his fists, tension buzzing between them like a live wire. "This isn't a game, Ryan. People are getting hurt." Suddenly, the ground shook again, a violent tremor that sent a ripple through the crowd. Fear spiked as more chaos erupted. A shadow darted past, a wave of panicked movements cascaded around them. Then, from the chaos, a piercing sound filled the air. A helicopter, its spotlight sweeping like a predator hunting for its prey. "That's all part of the plan," Ryan sneered, bathed in the harsh white light. "You're not even ready for what's coming next." "What are you talking about?" Jonathan shouted, but a flicker of fear danced in his chest. And then everything shifted. A deafening explosion ripped through the night. Blinding light engulfed the park, shattering glass and sending debris flying. The world spun in a chaotic blur, screens swallowed by the force of the blast. Jonathan instinctively threw himself over Marcus, shielding him as they hit the ground. Time slowed, and the moment stretched to infinity, a breath suspended in agony. Amid the wreckage, something strange happened. People, once scared and screaming, stood, frozen, their expressions dull. One by one, they looked up at the sky, entranced. Murmurs turned to whispers, eyes wide with fear, scanning the heavens. What's happening? Marcus struggled to comprehend through the ringing in his ears. Ryan's grin widened, filled with twisted satisfaction. "Welcome to the campaign. Did you really think it was just you in this game? Look!" As the dust settled, shadows descended from the hovering helicopter, darkness falling like a shroud. Figures clothed in tactical gear dropped swiftly to the ground. They were everywhere, surging into the crowd with violent precision. The air turned electric, weighty with dread. "Stay down!" Jonathan shouted, pulling Marcus closer. But as they crouched, a sudden realization struck Marcus. Something else was happening. The figures weren't there to just control or capture. They were scanning the crowd, watching, analyzing. "No, it's not just about you or me," Marcus gasped, grappling with the truth that crashed upon him. "They're looking for something, someone." Ryan let out a deep, rumbling laugh that echoed through the chaos. "You're getting it now, brother. Everyone is here for the prize, information. Your survival was never the ultimate goal. It was about control, the control of all of us." And with a jarring twist, the ground below began to open up in sections, deep crevices snaking through the park. Those entranced by the chaos seemed to step forward, drawn in, as if the earth itself demanded their surrender. "Watch out! We need to move!" Jonathan shouted, pulling Marcus to his feet. But Marcus felt anchored, torn between two worlds, the life he'd led and this new reality, where his brother's greed and ambitions threatened to swallow them whole. A flicker of determination ignited within him. "I'm not playing your game anymore, Ryan," he declared, pushing past the rising panic. At that moment, everything surged into chaos. The crowd erupted into a panic, people screaming, tripping over one another in their haste to escape. But above all, Ryan's smirk transformed into something dangerous as he stepped back into the shadows. "Don't think this is over. You'll see the truth soon enough." Before Marcus could grasp the meaning, a figure surged from the crowd, tackling Ryan to the ground. A woman, fierce and determined, her face a mask of anger. "Jenna, now we fight!" she yelled, strong and fierce, as the scene spiraled into madness. As the night swallowed them whole, Marcus understood. It was more than just individual betrayals at play. It was a web woven tight, and they had all stepped into the center, caught and twisted. With uncertainty spreading like wildfire, Marcus grasped Jonathan's arm. "What do we do?" Their eyes met, a shared understanding, heavy with fear and unspoken resolve. As the world continued to collapse around them, questions loomed larger than ever. Who could they trust? And how would they survive when everything was spinning into chaos? The chaos of the park reached a fever pitch, every moment a heartbeat racing toward an uncertain future. As Jenna struggled with Ryan, her fierce determination sparked something inside Marcus. He felt a rush of adrenaline, igniting the truth buried deep within him. "Everyone listen," Marcus shouted, voice steady despite the panic swirling around them. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about everyone in this park. We need to unite." The crowd paused. Fear and confusion etched on their faces. Jonathan stood beside Marcus, heart racing. "He's right. We have to fight together. We can't let them control us." Ryan stepped forward, eyes narrowed. "You think you can change anything? You're out of your depth." But those words fell flat against the determination rising in Marcus. The crowd murmured, snippets of agreement rippling through. "We want to fight. someone yelled from the back. Others chimed in, voices rising. We're stronger together! Jonathan felt a wave of courage flow through him. If we stand united, we can confront whatever lies ahead. No more running. No more hiding. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind them. Another explosion, rumbling as the helicopter above unleashed bright lights, searching for them. But united, fear transformed into action. Jenna pulled Ryan to his feet. You can't keep manipulating us. We won't fall for it anymore. Marcus glanced around, spotting the fear in his allies' eyes. Then, back at Ryan. This isn't a game for you. It's our lives. That truth hung in the air thickly. A moment where clarity erupted. The figures in tactical gear hesitated, sensing the tide turning. Gather your strength, Marcus shouted, every word a call to arms. Stand with us or against us. The choice is clear. In that instant, they formed a barrier, an unyielding wall of humanity pushing back against the chaos consuming them. Ryan's face twisted with rage, and the air thickened with tension. Fight then, he snapped. You'll regret this. The helicopter's lights angled sharply, blinding them momentarily. Then everything exploded into motion. They charged forward, a surge of purpose igniting. Jenna tackled Ryan, weaving her momentum. Using all her strength to pin him. You're done! No more lies! Stop, he yelled, struggling. You don't get it! No, you don't! She retorted, grounding him to the earth. As the crowd pressed forward, united, Jonathan grabbed Marcus's arm. We need to protect each other. Whatever comes, we face it together. In a stunning twist, one of Ryan's allies faltered, glancing back at Marcus. The doubt in his eyes spoke volumes. What? What's the truth? Marcus's heart raced. We're human beings, not chess pieces. The world needs change, and that starts here, now. More allies hesitated, caught between loyalty and conviction. Bolstered by the solidarity, the crowd roared, a chant enveloping them. Together! Together! With newfound clarity, they surged towards Ryan. A wave crashing against his dark ambitions. The faces around Marcus lit up with the fierce spark of hope. Together, they could reclaim their lives. But Ryan, cornered, pulled a device from his pocket. A detonator? You think this is just about you? His voice dripped with venom. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Time slowed. Every heart held its breath. Stop! Jonathan shouted, stepping between them. This is not how it ends. And then, with an earth-shattering roar, the world erupted. Smoke spiraled into the night, blinding everyone. Sirens echoed from the depths of chaos, a cacophony of fear and fight. But as darkness enveloped them, something remarkable happened. A flicker of light. Hands reached out, clasped together, finding each other among the chaos. The reminder that they were not alone. With that light, sparking hope, amidst the mayhem, a voice emerged, soft yet firm. We stand together, or we fall alone. And as the dust settled, they found themselves on the brink of something greater. A future unshackled by fear, and unity forged from chaos. The night was thick with uncertainty. The aftermath of a battle yet to come. As silence fell, a breath hung in the air, and it simmered, waiting for what might come next. But one thing was clear. They'd face the storm. And in the unlikeliest of alliances, they found a new purpose. And as they re-emerged from the shadows, an undeniable question lingered. What would they become now? I need all of you to do me a favor. You have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Your support means everything. Let's spread